Welcome back to The Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians, lying corporate media, and tell you the truth, no matter how hard it is to hear. Joining me back from a little hiatus is MAGA Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's good to be back with you. Been a little busy, but yeah, we got some important stuff to be covering today. So it's good to be back with everybody and getting some news out there because we'll be talking about the governor race today. We'll be talking about some of the potential candidates who will be running against Tim Walz, the candidate field that already exists against Tim Walz. Tim Walz is especially vulnerable this election. He's going for an unprecedented third term in Minnesota. So we'll be talking about all of the details there. And like I said, all of the candidates who are running and some potential candidates. We'll also talk about some skyrocketing health insurance rates. That's obviously going to affect lots of Minnesotans, and that's a key issue for lots of people. So we got some important things to talk about. Maybe in the comments section, people could start telling us who they want for governor, and we'll start going through some of these candidates today.
Yeah, and let us know where you're listening from as well. O'Bannon's already in the comment section. The candidates for the GOP suck. I think that's probably an agreement we have. Bring back Neil Shaw, he says. Well, I would love that. Wouldn't you guys love that? This episode's brought to you by Alpine Country in the great city of St. Cloud, Minnesota, which hosts one of the candidates for auditor on the Democrat side, Dan Wolgamott. We call him Sylvester the Cat. You know, despite being Dan Wolgamott's district, it's a great city and also has the best cabinetry company in the state of Minnesota. That's Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. We're also brought to you by my company, which is Elite Guardian. You can go to eliteguardianmn.com. Right now we have an offering of a concealed carry and home defense course, which qualifies you for your Minnesota permit to carry. That course is on October 7th, Tuesday, October 7th. That's an evening course. Sign up if you need if you're interested in protecting your family and yourself. And also if you want to get your permit to carry, you got to get every 5 years you need that requirement. Or if you've never had it before, come do it. EliteGuardianMN.com. Okay, Chaz 651 already starts out with Phil Parrish. We were talking about all these guys. Jesse did a great job. He wrote this article. I was begging, I was pleading, Jesse, come back on the show. We need you. And I guess, so to speak, Jesse's going to kind of pick his shots here. But I think you guys will agree with me. This article is very well done. It's at actionforliberty.com. I think it's the most recent article they have. And, the thing that I love about you, Jesse, and just everyone at Action for Liberty is, it's the one organization in politics that doesn't pull punches. I'm just going to say this right now. We can get into it certainly in the post show. I just feel like more now than ever in the world of politics, and I don't only mean politicians, I mean social media influencers, there's just a bunch of fakes out there. I mean, most of these guys are phonies, right? Do you get that feeling?
Oh yeah, definitely. And you're right that A4L is one of the few that are straight up because if you look at major journalists or all these outlets, they misrepresent the truth all the time. They are not even honest about what's going on, the facts. So that's one thing you get from Action for Liberty. It's that we'll always tell you where the facts are, and of course we're biased. For liberty, we want to see small government. We want to see the Constitution be enforced. We want to have our freedoms and liberties protected. But we always give you it straight up. And that's something that you really can't find other places because the establishment has to misrepresent what is actually going on for their views to sound plausible or reasonable.
Well, and you also have to understand that people that are in politics are trying to always scheme to get like that next position, that next job. It's kind of like we've always talked about Walter Hudson. Like, why does he do what he does? Coming after you and Action for Liberty so much energy is because he's probably scheming for like that Tom Emmer seat at some point, And so these guys, and there's certainly a lot of these people that are like the politicos, they want to be in the good graces of the establishment. And there's this energy. And I don't mean to go down this road again. I've talked about this at length in the last 2 weeks, but it's like, listen, Charlie Kirk was kind of a threat to that establishment. He wasn't going on script in a lot of the ways they want. I mean, he was very pro-Israel, right? But he was allowing voices that were alternate to the mainstream conservative or right wing position, and that's what Action for Liberty is that it, there's no jockeying for better positions in politics. They don't care. None of them are going to work. We're not going to work for like politicians, right? We're adverse to politicians because most of these politicians, they suck. They're fake. They're phony. And a lot of those social media influencers are phony as well, right? And the only thing we have is telling you the truth, at least what we believe to be the truth. If we didn't believe it was the truth, we wouldn't tell it to you guys. Now we'll add a little color commentary to it. We'll sizzle it up a little bit because that's just entertaining, right? But and some of it's like gut feeling. And so with that, I want to get into your article, Jesse. It's at actionforliberty.com. Minnesota governor race breakdown. Who is running and who might run? Go ahead, take it away.
All right. Yeah, no, I think you're making some good points there. That's exactly what is going on. And the establishment won't tell us the truth. So that's why Action for Liberty exists, because we stand with the grassroots. But as I was saying before, the tyrant Tim Walz is going for a third term, something that no other governor has ever done. And he's becoming increasingly unpopular. According to new KSTP polling, that he is down to a 47% approval. And that's along with a 47% disapproval rating. And according to the same poll, the majority of voters do not want him to run for a third term, and only 71% of Democrats want him to run. And even Walz has acknowledged himself that the national spotlight and the VP campaign has made Minnesota sick of him. He even said that he gets sick of himself, which that's probably the first truthful thing I've heard from Tim Walz. And historically, people say that if you nominate someone for VP in that home state, they're going to help the ticket. That wasn't the case in Minnesota. Walz actually hurt the ticket in Minnesota, and the Democrats did worse. While Trump and the MAGA base continued to grow in Minnesota. So while Trump was gaining in both votes and vote percentage, Tim Walz was hurting the ticket, and the Democrats did worse in Minnesota in 2024 than they did in 2020. And since being on the national stage,
the decision of Walz on that ticket, and who knows how the Democrats make this decision, but it was like to shore up like the Republican, the male kind of youth, but more male vote, right? Like this is coach, dad, veteran, right?
Off the white guys, remember?
Yeah, Mr. Jazz Hands. So it's shocking he didn't resonate with us.
And he, like you're saying, he didn't resonate because on the national stage he embarrassed the state. He looked like a total psycho. And so while the right and independents have definitely wisened up to Walz, there was definitely an image of him before as some kind of moderate. That's been completely dispelled. But now that people have wisened up, he's even received criticism from Kamala. Kamala Harris has even said that he wasn't her first choice and was criticizing him on his embarrassing debate performance against J.D. Vance. Kamala Harris has said that she wanted Pete Buttigieg instead of Tim Walz instead. So even Kamala Harris says that Tim Walz isn't her first choice. He definitely shouldn't be Minnesota's first choice.
All right, I got to read this. This is from The Guardian. Kamala Harris watched mortified as her running mate, Tim Walz, fell into J.D. Vance's trap in last year's vice presidential debate and fumbled a crucial answer, she writes in a campaign memoir. The former Democratic presidential nominee also admits that Walz had not been her first choice for vice president in her book 107 Days, obtained by The Guardian ahead of its publication next week. Harris writes that her first choice would have been then Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a close friend of hers who is gay. Walz and Vance held a 90-minute debate hosted by the CBS network in New York on October 1st. It was the last debate of the campaign, and Harris hoped that Walz would be the closer. Jesse, the closer. Like, oh, we've got this thing wrapped up. We just need him to have a strong finish in a VP debate. That's their mentality. That's how you win. Oh my God. No wonder why they lost. But Vance, previously vicious in attacking Harris, came with a strategy to tone down the anger and insults that characterized his boss, Donald Trump. Instead, the Ohio senator presented himself as mild-mannered and eager to find common ground with Walz. Quote, when Tim Walz fell for it and started nodding and smiling at JD's fake bipartisanship, I moaned at Doug. What is happening, Harris writes. I told the television screen, you're not there to make friends with the guy who's attacking your running mate.
It's always about her. It comes back to her. He's attacking me. And, it shows she's so inept. She can't even judge her allies correctly because Pete Buttigieg has come out and criticized her for what she said. So she can't even judge who she thinks would be her number two, the person who she would have as her right hand man in the position if she were president. So it just goes to show that she would have been her relationship with whoever she would have chosen for vice president would have been a disaster if she would have somehow taken the White House. And we definitely dodged a bullet on that one. But my favorite thing has definitely been these Kamala Harris interviews. It's a lot of the Democrats have come to admit how uh, empty suited she is. That Kamala really stands for nothing. Uh, Lots of people are seeing it now.
Yeah.
The Democrats are embarrassed about it. She's turning on everyone. I can't wait to see what Joe Biden says, and I can't wait to see what Hunter Biden says. That should be fun.
Right.
But getting back to the governor's race here. So if the over 1.5 million people who turned out and voted for Trump in the last election in Minnesota, there was over 1.5 million Minnesotans that voted for Trump in 2024, which is the highest vote a GOP candidate has ever received in Minnesota. If all of those people turn out and vote in 2026 for a Republican candidate, it will be over for Walz. And because the Democrats in 2022 turned out about 1.3 million for Tim Walz. So it's going to take over that to be able to defeat that. The MAGA base can do that, and it's only going to take someone who can excite that MAGA base to actually show up and vote.
Okay, so
So
kind of diving into your numbers, your premise here is, and this is how politicals talk. Well, presidential years always bring in more people to vote, right? But technically, the Republican side of the ticket already has the numbers. It's just about how do you get those same people that voted in the presidential election to also show up and vote for the Republican
in the
governor,
midterm, right?
which
Yep.
is stupid. Like it's always like, well, the president and the party in power always loses the midterms. Like, no, they don't always. It doesn't always have to be that way.
Right.
The question is, how do you change that habit of the voting base? And I think we'll kind of have the answer towards the end. So you guys can wait.
Right. And the momentum is shifting ever since, I think things were definitely trending towards a Democratic direction just because that's the natural happenings of when there's a Republican president. The Democrats usually get a little bit of momentum going. They're more excited to vote. But following the Charlie Kirk assassination and seeing the left's response, I think the right has been energized. A lot of them have woken up to the fact that the left would rather have us dead than debate us. They don't care about free speech. They only care about free speech when it's for Jimmy Kimmel celebrating death and blaming the right. So the left has gone so far that this race is going to be competitive. So we can get into some of the potential candidates. We'll start with Scott Jensen, who was the 2022 GOP nominee. I put up the picture of him with the Moms Demand Action women. That was actually pretty difficult to find. It was his campaign must have done a good job scrubbing that picture from the internet because it took me a little bit of time to be able to find that one. But he was the 2022 GOP nominee, and while he did increase some ground for Republicans, he went on to lose by over 7.5% to Tim Walz. And following the loss, Jensen flip-flopped on abortion, and which wouldn't be a surprise to those that knew that he funded abortion and Planned Parenthood while he was in the state Senate. He voted to do that, and he previously interned for Planned Parenthood. Jensen said that he will not sign any pro-life bills as governor, showing that he will flip-flop, and there are video clips of him on every side of the issue. So the Democrats will still attack him just as hard as they did the last time anyway, even though he's flip-flopped and has no principles. And he is also weak on gun control, as he previously caved to Moms Demand Action and pushed gun control legislation. And he even suggested that gun rights activists being delegates and holding politicians to high standards makes it difficult for them to win in the general election. And Jensen has argued that the endorsement process should be trashed. Even though it's giving voice to very active conservatives within the movement. And while he can give a well-delivered speech, he's a very weak debater. And similar to his 2022 run, Jensen has again refused to sign the Never Again pledge, despite all of the tough talk that he makes on emergency powers, lockdowns, and the mandates. And he has less momentum going into this election than the last one, and the grassroots support is not on his side like it previously was. He's shown himself to be a candidate who will lose to Tim Walz in the general election. To me, Scott Jensen is a non-starter.
Yeah, so I got some history with Scott Jensen. Like people that know him know he's kind of a very nice guy, like very kind of endearing. So on a personal level, like very friendly. You could see why he kind of had this cult following. Plus, he was a MD that actually spoke out against the COVID tyranny, even though his record, as you kind of allude to, was suspect because he won't sign the Never Again pledge, which he's really not against a governor having unilateral powers when you really dig down deep. And he also failed to move forward the resolution in May of 2020 that would have forced a vote on ending Walls' emergency powers, which he actually admitted to me in a debate that we had on Jerry Munson's podcast that was a mistake. That he actually listened to the voice of politicians over people. Jensen's just my synopsis of Jensen. So you got a nice guy, probably very genuine in some of his personal relationships, family and stuff like that. That's always kind of searching for who he is politically, not grounded in some kind of deep philosophy. It's why I think he got duped into the Libertarian Party candidate. Didn't he do an event with Joe Jorgensen or something like that in
Yeah, I
20?
was actually just thinking that as you were talking, I was thinking, man, I should link that article. So maybe I'll do that because a lot of people have heard of it, but they haven't necessarily seen the video. But you're right, he introduced Joe Jorgensen in 2020. He never endorsed Trump in that election, and he definitely gave. Well, he didn't make an outward endorsement of the libertarian Joe Jorgensen, who was woke as hell. But he didn't make an endorsement, but he definitely implied that support. That's what I gathered from his speech was why else would he be there to introduce her in his city and whatnot? So it was and since he never endorsed Trump, it leaves the voters to question. He never endorsed Trump in 2024 either.
Yeah. Um, Tucker says Jensen is Minnesota nice, and that is the complete opposite of what we need, and that's kind of true. It doesn't mean you have to be mean all the time. It just means that you can't be this like pushover, and that's what ends up happening is in the debate against Walz, he's kind of pushover. Not that debates make a big difference. In the end of the day, you got to go for the jugular in your messaging, and I just don't feel like he did that. He was always searching for his right answer on abortion, which Action for Liberty exposed at the time. The Republican Party was saying these are the approved talking points on abortion. It was selling out the pro-life movement. We've talked about this many times in the show.
And wasn't it maybe about halfway through the primary, or I should say, even before the convention, when he announced Scott Burke? It wasn't right off the bat that he announced Scott Burke was his
Matt
lieutenant
Burke,
governor in 2022. I think it
Matt
was
Burke,
partway through. Is that
Matt
right?
Burke. It's Matt
Yeah.
Burke. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, he went into the convention with Matt Burke.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if he ends up doing the same kind of strategy. I don't know if Matt Burke would be willing to join his ticket based on the abortion talk he's been making, because that was obviously a big issue for Scott Burke that kind of was able to win over some
Yeah.
pro-life voters. So, Scott Jensen might actually lose some votes. He might do worse than he did in 2022 if he's somehow the nominee.
Let's go to the KSDP's most recent polling. We like to use KSDP USA, or sorry, Survey USA polling because they were the most accurate in the 2022 gubernatorial race. So I think credit to the people that called it the closest. It shows that Walz is at 46% and Jensen at 41% with 14% undecided. See how it performs the rest of the field. Walz is up one to Robbins, so seven. So actually up two because technically it's a 7-point gap between Walz and Kristen Robbins. No one knows who Kristen Robbins is. It's taking these polls. Also, no one really knows who Philip Parrish is. He's only down by 11 points to Tim Walz with 14 undecided. Kendall Qualls does the worst. He's getting clobbered 13%, which is also the amount of undecided. So you'd have to win all undecideds, which never happens, right? Although I think all these undecideds is maybe a bad thing for Tim
And
Walz.
against with Kendall there, it's the only one where Tim Walz gets 50% or more.
Good point.
So
Yeah.
so that makes it almost as if he can't win no matter what. That doesn't necessarily mean that's true. It doesn't necessarily mean that polling is accurate, but if it's showing that Walz would already be at 50%, it shows that Qualls is in a almost impossible electoral position if that's accurate.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I guess we've seen the Scott Jensen thing play out. I just don't see
Yeah.
any change, and so what's the point? All right, next
And if
candidate.
we thought Scott Jensen was bad, wait until people learn about Rhino Kristen Robbins. So she's a state representative and the author of the Fake Never Again bill, which watered down Action for Liberty and Eric Mortensen's bill to end the unilateral emergency powers by the governor. Robbins' bill increased unilateral emergency powers by the governor from 5 days to 14 days and did nothing about mask or vaccine mandates. She refuses to sign the Never Again pledge, which shows she is not the real deal on this critical issue. And as chair of the fraud committee, Robbins has been reactionary to fraud rather than fixing the root issue causing fraud within our state, which is the unconstitutional omnibus bills. That's where all the fraud is coming from. It's because the legislature is passing it. It's because the uniparty, the rhinos and the Democrats are passing that. And that includes people like Kristen Robbins, because Robbins instead votes for these bills, which includes the pork-filled omnibus bill that funded abortion and Planned Parenthood in the previous special session. And Robbins and the fraud committee have refused to look into the PPP loan fraud allegations against Rhino Ron Krisha, proving that she only opposes fraud when doing so benefits her politically. And Robbins has a history of refusing to abide by party endorsements as she ran against conservative Brad Ganser in 2018 after she was rejected by the local Republican delegates. Robbins is also neocon Nikki Haley's endorsed candidate for governor in Minnesota. And Nikki Haley even calls Kristen Robbins her, quote, secret weapon. And as previously reported by A4L, Haley is fundraising for Robbins. And Kristen Robbins was the Nikki Haley 2024 Minnesota campaign chair against President Trump. So it's not just Scott Jensen that's the anti-Trump candidate. There's multiple choices for these rhinos in this election.
I was just watching this Tucker Carlson. I've only watched, I guess it's the monologue, whatever, the intro into the interview with Jeffrey Sachs, and he's kind of talking about Israel, and it goes back to Nikki Haley and the primary of debate in 2023, where she goes that it was like Israel doesn't need America. America needs Israel, or something like that. It's just like the mindset of someone like that, like a globalist that thinks that way. Like, oh, pathetic. And yeah, that's like Kristen Robbins. That's my gal. That's who I'm doing.
Right.
But let's just be honest what's going
It's
on.
at best America second. At best, that's what that ideology is.
Yeah. We got a $5 Rumble rant from O'Bannon. She is the head of the fraud committee, which is also a fraud. She keeps uncovering fraud that has been uncovered by Bill Glahn of American Experiment. No surprise, she is a fraud. I don't even think Bill Glahn has uncovered the fraud. I think Bill Glahn is keeping a nice tracker of it. The fraud seems to be uncovered either now by the federal prosecutors or the damn media. I just read another thing. I think it was KSCP or Care 11 found some more fraud. I'm like, what does the fraud committee do? They don't actually change anything.
That's why they're reactionary. Right. All they do is react to these things, and they aren't proactive in solving the root issue, which is those omnibus bills, because that's where all of that funding is coming from. These organizations wouldn't be able to get this money if we had if we got rid of these omnibus bills, because that's where all of this is going on. Anyone that was voting for the Human Services omnibus bill, they're responsible for the child care fraud, and I believe that's also probably where the Feeding Our Future fraud money was coming from as well. I think I've even written an article previously on that saying, here's the 21, I think it was 21 rhinos that voted in the House for that piece of legislation. So people will have to, do their research and make sure that their representatives are doing the right thing, because, they want to talk one way about fraud, but then they vote another.
Can we just be honest? Like, there's this appetite in politics to have a female moderate candidate. Nikki Haley, in many regards, filled that criteria.
Yeah, right. And she leaned into it, saying, I'll use my high heels to kick, or whatever she said.
Exactly, because they know there's a certain demographic that's wanting it. And I'm not just talking about female voters, by the way. And so I feel like that's the call for Kristen Robbins. She's the moderate that supposedly could win the suburbs, right? That's the way the thinking is. If we just go light on the if we have a soccer mom that's not so radical, because being conservative is radical and unapproachable, which is flawed thinking in Minnesota even, then maybe we can finally win the game, which is not going to help win the base, but there is the thinkers that like that. A lot of these people are political establishment types, and that's the Kristen Robbins candidacy in my thing. And of course, for Kristen Robbins, I'm sure it's very much a resume builder and personal ambitions, right? But for the people surrounding her, I think it's a lot to do with that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think so too. And you're right that they want the image of her, and she's the only woman in the race right now. So they're definitely going to lean into that as much as they can. And obviously, it's a different situation when you have Trump in office compared to the 2024 election, because Nikki Haley thought she could get away with all that kind of stuff. And it's surprising that anyone that knew anything realized that Trump was going to win. The only way that Nikki Haley was going to become the nominee was if Trump was thrown in prison. That's the only way that they had a shot. And so for anyone that was backing Nikki Haley, understanding those circumstances, which Kristen Robbins had to have, unless I think that she's an idiot, she had to have understood what was going on in the country at the time. So anyone that was almost rooting for the downfall of Trump going down by backing Nikki Haley is a total, just as Scott Jensen, a total non-starter.
Mm-hmm. All right, next candidate, Jeff Johnson.
Yeah, not the Jeff Johnson everyone remembers, but this Jeff Johnson is a former city councilman for St. Cloud who doesn't appear to have much of a campaign. And Johnson may benefit from a false recognition of his name, as some will presume that the 2014-2018 GOP nominee for governor, Jeff Johnson, is running again. This Jeff Johnson previously told delegates that he would not seek the party's endorsement and would go right to the primary, but he has since changed course, and it's not clear what he is actually going to be doing. Besides posting low-quality so-called memes that he posts supporting his campaign, which the memes that he's posting are ridiculous. While Johnson is sounding conservative on some key issues, he has refused to sign the Never Again pledge, and now resides with the Rhino governor candidates who want unilateral emergency powers as the governor under their reign. And some conservative activists in St. Cloud have appreciated Johnson's record on the city council and are asking that he ends his governor campaign and instead runs against radical leftist Eric Putnam for the state senate in a district that was won by President Trump in 2024. Considering Eric Putnam's district can be won by a real conservative, some people are looking at that option, but it's unfortunate that he doesn't have much of a campaign. It's even more unfortunate that he has refused to align himself with the grassroots and sign the Never Again pledge. Jeff Johnson seems to be not having an impact in the race.
I mean, the image that you chose for this article is just so funny because it's like, I'm unsure. What am I doing here?
Yeah, right.
It's just fun because let's be honest, he's a third tier candidate.
Because he doesn't look like he belongs.
No, he doesn't. So maybe a decent guy, but like you got to mount some bit of a campaign. You're just probably not going to not get much traction at all. So
right. Yeah, and like you said, might be a nice guy, and he's come by the state fair booth. He seemed like a nice guy when I talked with him, but choosing not to sign the Never Again pledge is a big mistake. So then we can move on to Kendall Qualls, and Qualls is a previous healthcare executive for Johnson & Johnson, some people's favorite vaccine provider, and previously ran for governor in 2022. The convention in 2022 went on for multiple rounds where Mike Murphy accused the Qualls team of offering him the lieutenant governor spot and then taking it back. Many instead suspected that Qualls was picking pro-abortion Michelle Tafoya, who chaired his 2022 governor campaign. And during that campaign, which was funded by healthcare and pharmaceutical mega donor David Frauenschuss, Qualls changed his position on emergency powers 3 times on his website, so he doesn't even know what he believes. And like Jensen, Qualls is considered a very weak and underwhelming debater, as displayed in the 2022 primary and against Dean Phillips in the 2020 run for Congress, where Qualls wore useless masks on the campaign trail. And
okay,
unsurprisingly,
I want to interject here real quick. Okay, and this is where, like I said, so many people in politics are phony. This image, I think, came from the A4L article back in 2022 or whatever.
Yeah, I think you made that picture when I saw it. I was like, I should just include that one. That shows exactly what this clown is.
Well, that's it. Is like, I think a lot of us are tired of the bullshit, and here you have. This was a lit piece by him. This is what Kendall Qualls will do with Tim Walz's mask mandate. It's like burning it, right? It's like, no, you were wearing masks nonstop, useless cloth masks, campaigning outdoors. That's who you are. Like, don't
And he was
act
posting
like
it
you're some
himself.
tough guy.
He was posting those pictures himself.
Right.
Yeah, so it's it shows that he's a total phony, and so unsurprisingly, he's refused to sign the Never Again pledge. And in between the campaigns of what he's done, he's run a grifting nonprofit and supported rhinos like David Hand for chair of the MNGOP, and is to be seen if he will actually honor the endorsement. There was a debate that happened where none of the candidates would pledge to honor the endorsement. Uh, and so he almost didn't honor the endorsement in 2022. It wasn't clear if he was going to. He didn't endorse Jensen at the convention. There was later him on the Capitol steps with Scott Jensen and the other endorsed candidates saying, I'm getting behind them. So it wasn't clear if he would abide by the endorsement then. And in 2024, he endorsed Rhino, he/him, Joe Frazier, for the U.S. Senate, despite the delegates endorsing Royce White. And in 2022, Qualls' governor campaign started off slow, but many establishment forces consolidated around him as the convention got closer. So that's definitely something people are going to want to watch out for again, because he's off to a slow start, but maybe can't be counted out quite yet. And with Qualls putting his governor hat on again, and people can click that link if they want. It's people have seen that stupid hat he's wearing around. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense what he's trying to pull off. But he's definitely one to be closely watched and probably be underwhelmed by. And despite having some statewide name recognition, as we showed in the poll, in the KSTP poll, Kendall Qualls is performing the worst of the Republican governor candidates, despite having some name recognition. So that is something that people should keep in mind.
Gunnar Belstead said, or sent a $5 Rumble rant, says, the people have spoken. We want more MAGA Jesse. Welcome back, good sir. Expert analysis. As always, thank you to both. I couldn't agree more with Gunnar. We'll make sure that Rumble rant ends up right in our young MAGA Jesse's pocket so he can be more encouraged to continue on. Actually, you don't do anything for money, so I guess maybe that wouldn't be the right approach. Just give him accolades, because that's exactly what I see. Can we just be honest about Kendall Qualls for a second? Like, somehow somebody or a couple people believe that this is the right guy. Now,
Yeah.
I think it's probably some bit of surface level. You have a very well put together looking black guy, okay? Because, I'll even admit, I hate looking at race. I hate being identity politics. But when people accuse Republicans of being the racist, right? If you come in with a strong black guy, it just kind of ruins that narrative. So I understand that. I agree with it, right? As long as that person's conservative and does the right things, right? So I feel like that's a bit of it. He's presentable in the sense that he's clean cut, looks well. He's got a veteran status. It's a veteran a long time ago, not modern wars, not my generation. But that's kind of where it ends. Like, when you hear the guy speak, and it's like he's not that impressive. His wife is impressive. She had a podcast with Alpha News, very fantastic.
Yeah,
He's
some people
not that
say she
impressive.
should be running, but maybe they would change their minds if they saw some of the articles she's written. I saw, like you said, Gunnar had given that Rumble rant on the episode where Gunnar was on with us. We went into some of those articles that Sheila Qualls has written about her husband. Those are a trip. Those are something to check out. So maybe people wouldn't say that if they saw those articles.
What I think when we look at these people that are behind Kendall, they probably have some surface level things that he checks a box with, and then they just know we can get what we want through this guy. Now, I think they're making a miscalculation, like he's electable. I don't know why they think this guy's electable. He's going to fumble so tremendously on the campaign trail. If you think Scott Jensen pulls punches, Kendall Qualls will pull punches. He's not going to resonate with the average guy. And as you're going to allude to at the end of this article, you have to win the MAGA base. This guy's just not going to do it.
Right. I remember in 2022 when Jensen had his booth at the state fair, he had some energy, and you can't discount that. But I remember thinking at the time, could the other candidates that ran at that time have been able to do that? Some of them could have. Qualls, I don't think so. I don't think that guy's got energy in any bone of his body.
Right. So, and my feelings, and this is conjecture, but I saw O'Bannon had talked about this, is that he basically has been in charge of a nonprofit that I don't really think adds a ton of value in the political world. Maybe that's not the way they approach it, but he's sitting there as a high salaried employee with that organization, in my opinion, to sit on the sidelines to come back into the game in politics. So there are people that really have an interest in Kendall Qualls, and those people, in my opinion, probably aren't there to further the conservative agenda. It's probably crony capitalist kind of ambition. So,
Right.
or just
And, he also was
longevity.
trying to, during his last campaign, after his campaign, he still had some campaign funds left over. He was giving them to random candidates. He was giving some to the party. He was obviously just trying to buy favor with all of these people. So who knows how successful that was, but I haven't seen a whole lot of momentum or talk about Kendall Qualls quite yet.
Yeah, what do you think was like at Kindle headquarters when that KSTP poll was released? I mean, they're like losing to
Yeah, I'm
Philip
sure it's a big
Parrish.
bummer. you know, you know,
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of Philip Parrish, who's actually beating Kendall Qualls against Walls in the KSTP poll, the most accurate polling USA Today or USA Survey USA KSTP poll. Let's talk about Philip Parrish.
Mhm. Yep. And so Phil Parrish is a Navy lieutenant commander, veteran, and a former teacher. He has previously run for office several times, including the U.S. Senate in 2014. He ran for governor in 2018, MN GOP chair in 2021, and Secretary of State briefly in 2022, but he dropped out before the convention even happened in that case. Parrish attributes some of his previous losses and battles with the grassroots liberty activists to his previous anger and attitude, which he feels he has corrected to reach a broader audience. And while Jeff Johnson memes are something to squint at, Phil Parrish AI memes, like his power walk with the Incredible Hulk behind him, are something to behold. Which some of these AI memes are getting out of control. It's not just Parrish. I think Brad Kohler's into some of the AI too, and maybe Jeff Johnson could use some AI. But some of the stuff that Phil Parrish is posting, it's out of this world for him to be posting something with the Incredible Hulk. And I'm not exactly sure what to make of it. I think I like it, though. At first, I thought it was stupid. Now I think I like it. But Parrish, as we said, is outperforming Kendall Qualls in the recent KSTP polling in head-to-heads against Tim Walz. And he is a candidate that some of the grassroots have definitely gravitated towards. He has not pledged to abide by the party endorsement, but he has pledged to. He has signed on to the Never Again pledge, to prove to Minnesota citizens that he would strip power from himself as governor and never allow a governor to shut down the state unilaterally on their own ever again. So Phil Parrish is an interesting candidate, like I said, and definitely getting some attention. Been on the show before, and as we're seeing in some of the comments, people support him.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, I think his compass is way more on the conservative side. He's definitely lacks a good campaign infrastructure. Um, I feel like he's a little bit how do I put this? Um wishy-washy in his attitude, which he admitted to us. Like I don't really have any resentment towards like some of the negative things he said about us somewhere along the way cuz like we were buddy with him back in like 2014. And then like there's some fallout. I don't even remember what it was about, and quite frankly, I don't think about it at all. But the fact that he did that kind of shows he's wishy-washy on his attitude. So has he solved those issues? I don't know, but I
Right,
just
in the
don't see.
state fair, like he
Yeah,
was at the state fair. He had a booth, and then all of a sudden, he kind of implies that it's about the Minnesota flag. It had nothing to do with him using the old Minnesota flag. It had to do with him not setting up a booth the correct size.
right.
And so I kind of wondered the same. Is he the kind of guy that just throws his hands up in the air when things don't go his
Yes,
way?
yes.
And
There you go.
that was that's the impression it kind of gives.
Yeah, like maybe overwhelmed by things. But once again, I think his compass is generally pointing the right direction. And for that, I think he'll always kind of be a third tier candidate, unfortunately. And he's run for so many things and has failed at all these things too, right? So it's like at some point the people aren't demanding it. And that kind of gets us to our next character, who I definitely
Yeah.
like as a person.
Hmm. Yeah, so Brad Kohler is a former UFC heavyweight professional fighter and a small business owner. He has previously run for the state Senate in 2022, ran for Congress in CD3 in 2024, and ran for Hennepin County Commissioner after he did not receive the CD3 GOP endorsement. He may face questions from voters on felony charges of his, which he pled guilty to, including malicious punishment of a child and third-degree assault. When asked about these charges on the Truth Hurts show when he came on here, Kohler said that he was pressured into guilty pleas and was simply making underage thieves work out as a punishment for theft, and that he was overcharged. Says that he was pressured into these charges, and that he will answer questions about these charges head on. He says that he's learned from his mistakes. He believes he brings a unique perspective to these judicial issues. And Kohler was the first candidate of this cycle to sign the Never Again pledge, and did so at Action for Liberty's ultra popular Never Walz State Fair booth. And something that's a little newsworthy. People may remember he came on the show with Reverend Tim Christopher. I saw someone in the comments saying something about him. I'll have to go back and look at what that was.
It's a $5 Rumble ran from O'Bannon. Brad Kohler has a felony conviction for malicious abuse of a minor, and as a BLM activist as a running mate, crackpot, or it should be former running mate.
Former, yeah, that's what I was just about to say. That Reverend Tim Christopher is no longer on the ticket. Thank God for Brad Kohler, because that was not a great selection, I think. And I think Kohler had even told me that his BLM running mate there, is O'Bannon is calling him, is supporting Kristen Robbins. So that tells you what's going on there. I haven't looked at that Reverend Tim Christopher's social media in a long time, but he was against the Liberty movement. He was against the grassroots. He was aligning himself with David Hand. He's liberal on lots of issues. He was never a good candidate, and so yeah, it sounds as if they're no longer a team, and Brad Kohler's probably better for it, but Brad Kohler's in a tough position himself with just those charges. I mean, as I said when we interviewed him, I said all it's going to take is the Democrats to run one commercial that says his charge is malicious abuse. Malicious punishment of a child, and it's over.
Right.
So, as much as I think he's a good guy and probably did learn from his mistakes, and maybe was overcharged, and maybe some of those things are of course true on the other hand as well, but those things don't matter when you don't have any chance of winning.
Yeah, and you didn't get ahead of the story. You didn't hire a PR firm. You couldn't afford a PR firm to even get ahead of the story. When even on our show, the most sympathetic show to you, you can't even address the issue and explain it. It's like you're done. You have no shot at this thing. Okay. And it's unfortunate because Brad, in my opinion, is a very endearing guy. I know he's probably been through some trauma. Listen, he's one of the OGs of the UFC, mixed martial arts. I got mad respect for that. We just showed Gable Stevenson's on the end of last show, Gable Stevenson's first professional fight. It was kind of like the highlight, the good thing that's going on in Minnesota sports right now that no one's really talking about. It wasn't a UFC fight, but it was a local card. I mean, Brad had a vicious knockout, one of the best knockouts in UFC history. It was like UFC 8 or something. It was like really early on.
I linked it.
Yeah, it's an early
on
I
linked it in there. It's what was something interesting when I linked that video. It said his height was 5'9". He was billed at 5'9". Jake, is Brad Kohler 5'9"?
Well, that's sports. They always over exaggerate heights in sports.
Yeah,
how it goes.
He's not 5'9". We both met him in person. He's at most 5'6", probably, right?
Daniel Cormier's not 5'11" either.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is the problem, is he just is done. Now, I will say there's one thing that's really good. Brad's raising zero money. I am not telling you guys something I haven't told Brad to his face because I like the guy. And I just don't think he's got much of a shot. But the thing that I see Brad doing is working a lot of non-traditional constituency groups. I think it was a Hmong group I saw he went to speak at, and maybe Hispanic community, stuff like that. That's a good approach. It's a noble approach, no doubt about it. The problem is no one's going to know this stuff because you're not going to be able to fund commercials. You're not going to be able to, get this message out in a large email. You probably don't have the wisdom to get and know how to get earned media. It's just KSDP pulled Phil Parrish's name over you. Like, what does that?
I don't think he did well in CD3 when he ran for the endorsement either. So it's and like we're saying, he's a nice guy. I don't want to beat up on him, but it is what it is. It's he's not going to win this thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay, and so Brad. I mean, like I've said to Brad, I want him on the show just to chat. Like, you don't need to be candid. Stop running for things. Like, you don't need to be candid all the time. Like, some people just have to run for things. It's like, you don't have to do that. There's other things. It's kind of sometimes feel that way about Royce White. You got a powerful voice in media. Why you're running for things? You don't seem to do well with your campaign funds management. Although he's damn entertaining. Royce Wade's damn entertaining. I'll put it that way. And we agree on a lot of things too. So, all right, next candidate.
Yeah, and then we can go to Trevor Burkholder. He's a truck driver and a lesser known candidate for governor. His campaign Facebook page only has 36 followers, but he does appear to be a conservative, and it's not clear if he will campaign for the party's endorsement or go right to the primary. Burkholder was contacted by Action for Liberty to sign the Never Again pledge, which he has agreed to do, but A. Farrell has yet to receive the signed pledge from him. It's been over a week. We still want to get that from him. So it'd be nice if Trevor wants to sign on to the pledge, but like I said, he's not a serious candidate. He's got 36 followers on his Facebook. As you can see, he kind of looks like a goofy, fun guy. So I wish him well. I don't think he's anything to write home about, though. You
Now,
got
is this
anything?
like
Any
a
thoughts on
campaign?
him?
Is this a campaign photo? How did you get this
That's
photo?
that's the only photo of him on his campaign Facebook there. So
No, he's
I
not.
would have chosen a more
He's not even
professional
wearing
one if he
sleeves.
had one.
He's not even wearing sleeves. I love it.
Yeah, you can see he's an average guy. So,
Yeah.
and anyone can run. That shouldn't be discouraged. I'd like to see more people get in.
Right.
And then we can go to this Thomas Evanstad, who was convicted of rape in 1999 and was released from prison in 2008. He contends that he was innocent. In 2014, Evanstad pled guilty to charges involving stalking and threatening people, involving his rape conviction, which included the then Hennepin County Sheriff Rich Stanek, the judge, the prosecutor, and the victim. And for those crimes, Evanstad was sentenced to 20 years of probation. Evanstad is another unserious candidate with zero chance.
It seems like if you were in prison for rape and then you're guilty of charges of stalking and threatening people, it seems like you should be going back to prison. Leave it
right.
to Hennepin County where you get 20 years of probation. You're still out in the public, right?
Right. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that rapists would be getting life sentences. Apparently not. So it's a little weird. But like I
Ladies,
said, I guess
ladies,
anyone can run.
ladies out there. Once again, I will do a shameless plug here. I think it's well intentioned here, but if you want to take your own protection into your hands, sign up for my concealed carry and home defense course. Go to leadguardianmn.com. There are people out there who are running against Tim Walz, who are serial rapists, making threatening things towards former sheriffs. This is a kind of crazy world. Hennepin County apparently lets these people roam around despite terroristic style threats towards government officials. So there you go. There's my shameless
Yep.
plug.
Yep. And but that wraps up all of the candidates that are running for governor currently. We do have some potential candidates to talk about, and the most fun of which to talk about is Mike Lindell. The MyPillow CEO has been floating the idea of running for governor against Tim Walz since 2021, but some believe that he is taking steps to actually do it this time. Mike Lindell told the Star Tribune that he is looking at the polls against Tim Walz and says he is, quote, about 99% there, end quote, on running. Lindell would walk into the race with major name ID and the ability to nationally fundraise. Democrats would bash Lindell over the head with some of his past drug use, but may forget that America loves a redemption story. Mike Lindell turned his life around from a crackhead to an energized Christian pillow salesman. And while Lindell certainly appears to be a hardcore conservative, he is new to politics and will be less savvy than to political strategy and political norms. His celebrity factor and personal story could overcome the areas where Lindell lacks if he campaigns correctly. And Lindell appears to understand something that several major candidates don't understand in this race, because in his interview with the Star Tribune, he said, quote, "If I'm the only one that can win, that would be a shame if that opportunity slipped by," end quote. So if Lindell is meaning by when he says that, if he means that the MAGA base will only turn out and vote in mass if they see their values and principles represented, he's 100% right. Opponents of Mike Lindell will argue that he's unelectable and that he moved the election integrity movement backwards. And many have said the same about President Trump, but Lindell may also be a different story. His election symposium provided little credibility to the Stop the Steal movement, and he also has a little bit of a temper and can snap on people, which I would say isn't always a bad thing in politics. A lot of these politicians deserve to have someone go off on them a little bit. And Lindell entering into the race would change the dynamics of the primary and general election big time, especially if he could come in with Trump's endorsement against some of these anti-Trump rhinos. So, Jake,
Okay.
what are your thoughts on Mike Lindell and the potential campaign?
Yeah, so this one's a puzzling one. Okay, because the field is so terrible here. I think I'm like a lot of people. I'm looking for a good candidate. Okay. Some people that aren't watching the show or maybe hear Action for Liberty, they might think, oh, this Kristen Robbins sounds really good, or this Kendall Quall sounds really good, right? It's like, yeah, because you don't know their history. So that's why you should be following shows like this. We'll tell you exactly these people are rhinos. They're not really principled conservatives. Most people kind of think of Lindell as possibly a principled conservative, that he is a devout Christian conservative kind of person. I don't know his full gamut of views. My assumption is they're very similar to a lot of people in our audience. Okay. When you tell me Mike Lindell, I think what a lot of people are led to believe, kind of a crazy dude. Okay. He seems like a crack addict businessman, right? But that might not be who he is. Okay. Um, he might not be savvy enough to know how to get away from that um, view of himself, his perspective, this like public image. If he is the guy that believes kind of in the hardcore, he's got great name ID and already has a lot of people in the base that probably support him, right? Because if he got in, he would instantly have, I think, a slew. Probably the most impressive army save Scott Jensen right off the bat. Do you agree with that? I think
Right.
that he would have an
Oh
army.
yeah, like you're saying, yeah, I think it's only him and Scott Jensen that'd be the major contenders. Who would actually have the people to go to the caucus and say, "I'm voting for Mike Lindell"?
Yeah,
I think he'd have the majority off the bat if he entered.
right. So then it really comes down to, and this is where maybe, hey, Mike, you and I should talk. I thought about getting an interview with Mike. Maybe I should just talk to Mike. Because if Mike is a real sincere, good person and very professional, you need to change your damn image. All right. You cannot come across a loony. You will throw everyone a curveball if you're like I don't want to say mild manner. That sounds very neutered, but like a reasonable kind of more professional person.
Yeah, poised.
Yeah. Because Trump is crazy to some degree too, right? But there are limits, and he seems to be outside that limit. Okay. And that's assuming Trump's still in that limit. I mean, Trump was successful. So I don't put it past a person that they can change that view. He's going to get instant. Well, he's got name ID probably better than most of the field. He's going to have a ton of media. The media is going to want. It's going to be the same thing that happened with Trump. They're going to want to cover him, right?
Oh yeah.
So to that degree, I'm very open to that idea. I also want to know where he stands on a lot of the issues, but I'm very open to that idea if he can be that. If he can't, if he's going to be that goober that he's painted out to be in the media, that can't help his tendencies with, saying off the cuff things that are just going to drive away a lot of people that can't stomach that, then no. Because remember, Trump didn't win Minnesota, right? You need to energize the base of people in Minnesota, but you also have to appeal to people that are going to want a candidate that maybe is a little bit more groomed in some degree. Okay, does that make sense?
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
my
No, and
fear on Mike Lindell. But
yeah.
I'm
No, I
I'm
think it's.
open. He might be that. He might be that way. He might be coachable in that.
No, I think the same thing. I think a lot of questions remain unanswered, and if he got in the race, it'd definitely be welcomed by me. I'd like to see the kind of campaign he'd run. I'd like to see how he'd operate, and I think more competition would only benefit us.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And he would instantly become one of the top candidates, and then the
Oh yeah,
establishment would be helping the talking points because it's not just the mainstream media that he's going to be up against and trying to steer his brand that crazy route. It's going to be also the Republican establishment. They're going to try to deteriorate. I think I even saw, was it O'Bannon in here maybe, that said something. So here's a serialized. Oh, that's not it. I thought someone said something like, "Oh, he's got no shot" or something like that.
oh
Which is
yeah.
crazy.
O'Bannon says, "God, no chance for the pillow guy."
Yeah, there you go. See, so like even O'Bannon, who's like a big listener show, conservative kind of type, that's been my assumption too in many regards. So I don't want, because of how terrible the field is, I will leave myself open to that idea. If he wants to talk, we can talk, Mike. We know a lot of the same people. I don't
You know,
think I've ever met Mike actually. So all right, who
yeah,
else is
I met him
possibly?
once at the state convention when he was helping Doug Wardlow for Attorney General in 2022. he came and I got a picture with him. He was a nice guy, but obviously he was there to support Doug. Uh, but yeah, no, we'll have to see what ends up shaking out there. I see we're coming a little short on time here, so maybe we'll
You know
skip
what?
Damon.
We'll go
People
over an
can check
hour.
that out.
We can go over an hour, Jesse. Let's get this done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
yeah,
right.
because there's quite a few candidates here that I list for, and one of them being Lisa Damuth. So Minnesota's Speaker of the House has been a name floated for governor as the field expands, and Damuth would argue to be. Many of the establishment would say that she is the most electable candidate. However, conservatives will have to abandon almost all of their values in order to support her. From caving to Democrats and seating Brad Tabke to Damuth negotiating with Walz behind closed doors to pass the second largest budget in Minnesota history, which included, among other things, abortion and Planned Parenthood funding, giving Keith Ellison a bigger budget, spending millions of tax dollars on an LGBTQIA2S plus council, spending billions on woke leftist universities and colleges, and kept woke leftist policies in place and gave our state $700 million worth of debt. And that was all under her as Speaker. She's the one that's putting these bills up to the floor. Damuth has come out strong against gun control in a potential special session that Walz appears poised to call, and that would be a great test for her to be able to prove that she can stand up to liberal pressure. Because so far, under her reign as Speaker, she hasn't at all. She's, it's been business as usual. They've passed the same type of omnibus bills. The process hasn't really changed at all, and they caved on some critical questions when it came to the very beginning of the legislature on Brad Tabke and not seating him. I'd also written an article previously saying that the Republicans could choose not to seat XP Lee, which is the guy who was posting 8647, which is a code linked to supporting assassinating President Trump. And he's the one that is taking Melissa Hortman's seat. So I thought it was quite ironic for an assassinated politician's seat to be taken by a guy who is supporting assassinating politicians. It appears that he was sworn in. I saw something posted by the Minnesota House of Representatives, the neutral thing on their website, and they were saying that he was sworn in. I didn't see Lisa Damuth in those pictures, but he couldn't have been sworn in without the approval of the Speaker. So I have to assume she was there or at least signed off on it, and that's a problem. That's another example where they could have done something about it. They could have said, we're not seating this guy because he's obviously crazy. He's obviously promoting the assassination of politicians. It's not the type of character that we want to have in the legislature. They could have done something. If they would have done something, it actually probably would have eliminated their fraud committee because it was within the same portion of the rules that the fraud committee existed in, which, as we've talked about plenty of times, the fraud committee is a fraud that is only reacting to the fraud that comes out from the prosecutors and the media. So to me, it wouldn't be that much of a loss if we have to lose the fraud committee in order to hold some Democrats accountable for their actions.
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, Lisa's just not that impressive. We've alluded to this. We believe she became the Speaker of the House because she was a choice. I think probably Jim Nash is behind it. There's probably some other movers and shakers. They wanted a candidate that the caucus would support, that they wouldn't support them, and so they put forward Lisa Damuth. She is an appeaser. She's not that conservative, not very impressive in speech. I don't think has the greatest political instincts. I don't see what you're getting out of there. You're just getting another Minnesota nice, moderate politician. Looks like Kristen Robbins is already representing that, and she is from the suburbs, so she'll win the suburbs, right? That's the way they think.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
There's
highlight
some
this
rumors that they don't get along. I don't know if it's true, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's catty fights at the legislature.
Well, we know that there are. This is on YouTube. The Mainstream Remedy. What the F? Groom my ass. You want another Sorry, see, I'm going to put more in the swear jar here. You want another pussy candidate? No, I grew up with these ballless morons. You need a fighter. Minnesota does not have alpha males, just beta males, which is alluding to what I was saying about Mike Lindell. Yeah, I think grooming sounded bad. What I'm trying to say is, I think that we have a tendency on the conservative side, the grassroots conservative side, to think that, oh, it's all about money and, presentation and stuff like that. We need you know what I'm saying? And the establishment side goes, I don't care what this person believes in. Let's just make sure they look good on camera and can raise money. Okay. The answer is actually a little of each. It really does matter what they believe in, and they're authentic about it, okay? Which Mike Lindell probably is, okay? I just don't know him well enough in that. But he's certainly taken some hardcore positions, certainly on voter integrity, which should be a good, important issue in the base. But
And he
you
says he was
also need to raise
non-political
money,
before
which I think
Trump.
Mike possibly could, because he probably has a nationwide network. But you do need to be presentable, and he's going. I mean, regardless of what you think, he's going to be fighting that PR game from day one. There is a connotation Mike Lindell has to um, a lot of people. I'm not just talking about like the independents. I'm saying even people in the base. You saw right in the comment section. So groom might be the wrong term, but he needs some PR work done, both helping his image and then how he comes across as a candidate. Listen, if you don't like what I'm saying, that is exactly what people did for Donald Trump in his debate with first Hillary, then with Biden, and then what he did with Kamala. The Trump literally is neutered. The best thing about Trump's campaign was the debates. But we didn't get that when he went up against the Democrats. You got like one line in the Hillary debate, like, well, she'd be in jail if I was the president. Like that's it. You don't get that. He was subdued, and he was subdued for a reason, because he has to come across to certain voters in a certain way, right? And you understand that mentality. And that's what I'm saying is Mike Lindell needs to also have that fighter in him, so don't get rid of that. But I'm saying he also has to come across in an appeal that says, I'm not a whack shit crazy like cocaine addict businessman. Okay, hopefully I specified that a little bit better. Oban says money is all that matters in politics. That's why we have these idiots. Tucker is hitting the pipe today. I mean, it's not all that matters, but it definitely makes a difference. I mean, if you raise no money, you can't get your message out, right? Unless you somehow get the media always talking about you, but they're probably not going to talk about you because they don't think you're a real candidate. So, all right, next candidate.
Yeah, then we can move on to globalist rhino Tom Emmer. While Tom Emmer has ruled out a run for governor multiple times, he has been called on by President Trump to run. While Trump has been nothing but nice and friendly with Tom Emmer since the MNGOP congressional delegation endorsed him for president in 2024, which, by the way, was only when it was down to him and Nikki. So apparently they didn't get the memo until it was just about time for the Minnesota primary, when they realized their necks were about to be on the line. That's when all of a sudden they decided to endorse Trump. But many remember instead that Trump ended Tom Emmer's Speaker of the House campaign, and he did so by labeling him a globalist rhino that was not in line with America First voters and was only pretending to be MAGA. Trump has since chosen peace with Tom Emmer, and so that he can have his priorities pushed through Congress, since Tom Emmer is the whip. And some suspect that Trump actually wants Tom Emmer out of D.C. entirely, and that is the real reason he is pushing him to run for governor, so he no longer has to deal with Tom Emmer. And let's see.
I love your spin, Jesse.
Emmer doesn't seem likely to do it. Emmer is only going to run if he, if his puppets can disqualify and kick out his opponents with bogus attacks. Walter Hudson being one of those puppets to make sure that we can't let anyone speak. So, that's the only kind of election Tom Emmer's interested in, is one where he can win without competition and not just be handed the nomination. So Emmer would bring all kinds of national money, but like I said, I don't think he's I think it's too big of a risk for him to run. He's got a big spot in Congress. He doesn't want to give that up. He still wants to be speaker, I'm sure.
I love your mega spin there, man. This is great. This is a quote from Donald Trump, according to KTTC. This is a guy who's great, Trump said. When I have a problem and I call him up, he gets it done. He's a tough cookie. I don't know why he's not the governor of Minnesota. He comes from Minnesota. He's like, no. I don't want to run for governor. Come to think of it, I think that's a great idea. You could win so easily. The guy, Tim Walz, is terrible. He would win.
Well, let's not forget what Trump said.
Let's finish the quote, Jesse. This is from Donald Trump. You would win. You just have to take a look at that handsome face of yours, and you would win. Tom Emmer, everybody. He did a great job.
Yeah. He got his bill passed. That's what Trump was worried about. But what Trump said originally in the post where he called him a globalist rhino who should never be Speaker of the House, he said that now Tom says that he's MAGA all the way, but who can ever be sure? When he's saying who can ever be sure, he still believes that. He's saying, I know this guy's kissing my butt, and he's playing publicly nice with him. and he's trying to kick him out of DC. He's trying to say, "Go back to Minnesota. I'm done dealing with you. We've had enough fun." And we'll have to see. I mean, Trump has definitely chosen to get along with Congress far more than I would like to. I think that a lot of them need to be called out, and but I think Trump understands the game that you're not going to get anything good through Congress anyway. So you might as well as just have some big package that you call big and beautiful, and you get a couple of little priorities in there, and other than that, it's what else are you going to get through Congress? It's they're so corrupt. And if you try to do something outside of their framework, what they're going to do is just partner with the Democrats. So the uniparty is going to reign supreme no matter what you do. So Trump's just trying to. It's more of a narrative thing than anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, if it couldn't get worse than Tom Emmer, let's go to the
Yeah.
next one.
Right. The failed former chair of the MNGOP anti-MAGA, David Hann, is reportedly still considering a run for governor, despite A4L exposing that he secretly was paying a Kamala supporter tens of thousands of dollars with MNGOP funds. Among the other issues, Hann was fired by the State Central Committee delegates as chair for the 1972-10 company payment secrecy, which was, as I just mentioned, Hann paying the Kamala supporter tens of thousands of dollars. Hann also disenfranchised grassroots Otter Tail delegates. He cut off data access to candidates endorsed by their local GOP and had other financial disasters at the party. And as seen in previous A4L reporting, Hann couldn't run a party and definitely couldn't run the state. And he even tried to take credit for Trump bailing the party out of debt when Trump showed up and gave a speech at the Lincoln dinner. Hann is a spineless rhino who was better friends with Democrat Chair Ken Martin than he was with the grassroots conservatives of his own party. And for instance, the GOP delegates fired David Hann as chair, and Ken Martin then threw a hissy fit. Ken Martin was complaining that it was a far-right overthrow led by Action for Liberty. And Ken Martin, of course, is now the chair of the DNC. Maybe that's where David Hann can look for a job, is with the DNC and his good buddy Ken Martin.
Go back home, David Hann. That's where you belong. Go back home.
Yeah, yep. And because they were doing all kinds of events together, they have like a reduce the anger caucus or something. These guys are just ridiculous. And so when Ken Martin is throwing a hissy fit about who the GOP chose for chair, and more importantly, who they didn't choose for chair, which was his best buddy David Hann, who was basically ensuring the Democrats would win election after election after election in Minnesota. Ken Martin threw a hissy fit. That means the conservatives did their job. Yeah. And in 2012, David Hann even allegedly tried to start a draft Hann campaign for governor to try to start this movement for himself as if it was grassroots and natural. At the 2012 State Central Convention, a real draft campaign is constituents asking someone to run, not a candidate deceitfully pretending that there is natural grassroots support for them. And considering that David Hann was rejected by the political insider state central delegates, the much larger state convention delegate pool, and the statewide GOP primary electorate are even more conservative than the state central delegates, so Hann would be rejected by even bigger margins. Hann would be a dream opponent for Tim Walz because Hann would guarantee vast numbers of conservatives would not show up to vote.
Okay, I want two things going forward. One is a really good candidate that's conservative to get in the race, okay? The other thing is I want David Hann to run for governor because metaphorically speaking, that punching bag has not been punched enough. That's metaphorically, okay? Not condoning violence here. But, I mean, Billy 22's got it right. David Hann will lose the nomination quicker than Paul Gazelka. I mean, 100%. Like, this guy's so pathetic, and David Hann's so damn corrupt. I was shocked at how corrupt David Hann became. Like, literally, viciously doing all the dirty work for Tom Emmer, trying to take over the party. I want it. I want to see it so bad, because if he's got the mentality, he would do any bit of good in that race. This will be a fun thing to watch, and we'll invite him on the show to talk about his candidacy.
I mean, he'd get single digits in the primary. He would not even crack 10%. I think if he went to a primary, even with the field so divided and whatnot, I don't think he'd get 10%.
I remember Gazelka saying, like, after he lost, and he was like the first one out at the endorsing convention, Neil Shaw beat him, and Neil Shaw was like new to politics, right? And Gazelka's like, well, now is not the time or the era for candidates like me. It's like, yeah, it's sad that there was ever an era for people like you.
Right.
And I don't even think Gazelka's as trash as David Hand. And you know what? These guys look buttoned up.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
Like
I
if
think
these
the
guys go to a
Gazelle is
room,
to the right of David Hand.
yeah, if these guys go to a room, these are like the worst kind of guys. They look buttoned up, conservative. I mean, David Hand's even a veteran. They'll talk about their Christianity. These guys are such lying sacks of shit. It's unbelievable. Like to be an guy that's analyzed their career and their phoniness, and just to watch them like try to pretend like there's some like good conservative, like Paul Gazelka writes a book about going up against Tim Walz. Like bullshit. You got beat all the time. Like we didn't say anything nice about Melissa Hortman upon her passing because like we didn't have a lot of nice things to say. But the one thing we did say is she sure got the better hand of the Republicans always, right? Because these guys are a bunch of like as one person put, they're beta males. They're a bunch of beta males, and
Yep.
that's why we keep losing in this state. So there you go.
Yep.
Bradley Webster
Mhm.
on YouTube says Dr. Jensen is our best choice for governor. You should go back and watch our first commentary. We covered Scott Jensen first. We don't really agree with that.
Yep.
Oh, LK to live, LK to live, LK to live. Great to see you, Jesse. Love the back and forth between the two of you. I love it too. Don't we miss MAGA Jesse? Sorry, MAGA Jesse. You walked into it. You got fans out there. I keep telling Jesse, I'm like, they want you back. They love you, Jesse. Hey, you from Minnesota? You should run against Governor Walz.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you only got to be 25 to run for governor, so I could run for governor if I wanted to.
Do it.
Yeah, right. Looking at the field, you never know.
All
But
right.
no,
Speaking of
I
another
appreciate
potential
people saying
candidate,
that.
another
You know,
potential candidate.
but then we can go on to Jim Nash, and he's another state representative and the author of the bill that gave Keith Ellison's office more money and gave millions of dollars of tax dollars to the LGBTQIA2S plus BS Council. And the Star Tribune has reported last month that Nash is mulling a run, and he is the GOP House Whip, which means that he is telling the other GOP reps how to vote according to what the GOP leadership wants them to do, which includes voting for all of these different omnibus bills, including the abortion and Planned Parenthood spending bill. So this means that Nash is telling these other representatives to vote for just about every single crony uniparty omnibus bill and getting these other representatives to do the same thing. So it's bad enough if you vote for it, but when you're the whip and advocating for these other representatives to do the same thing and saying and trying to pressure them and trying to maybe even say that, hey, if you don't vote this way, we could get a primary opponent to you. But that's a tough sell to say, hey, vote for this abortion money or we're going to primary you. I'd say bring it on. Bring your pro-abortion candidate on in a Republican primary. So Jim Nash is just another candidate. I mean, we already got Kristen Robbins in the race. We already got Kendall Qualls and Scott Jensen. What would Jim Nash add to the equation other than his own ego?
Probably a little bit better debate, I'm guessing. Maybe a little more political savvy, I would imagine. Now he's made enemies certainly in Minnesota political ranks, no doubt about it. But probably comes with a little bit of constituency, so I could see that part of it. It's really about people like us that kind of know his record and stuff like that. It would need to be exposed because I'm sure he comes in acting like he's the conservative choice. I mean, they're all conservatives, right? Once they run, they're all conservatives. So no one ever comes out, oh, I'm running because I'm that good moderate, like they never do it, but they are. That's what they are. So yeah, I think that's kind of what and once again, I think it's ambition. I don't think he'll get in. That's my thinking is he's scheming and maneuvering positions and jockeying for positions at the Capitol. I don't think he wants to run for governor. That's
Right,
just
and
my
especially if Lisa Demuth won, if she ran, then he might say, "Well, I'd rather try to go for speaker then." So, which you never know. And I've heard Niska's name even for attorney general. So, who knows what might end up happening on that front? We're still waiting to see.
hmm
But yeah, then we could get into the final candidate that I list here as a potential candidate, Chris Maddle. He is a Minneapolis attorney who gained some statewide attention as the lawyer for Minnesota State Trooper Brian Lonergan, who shot and killed an individual, Ricky Cobb, after Cobb dangerously drove off during a traffic stop while police were entering the vehicle. And while the cop hating left wanted to make an example out of Lonergan, Maddle kept the public up to date during the legal battle. It's unknown how Maddle falls on many of the issues, but he has been reported by the Star Tribune to be considering a run for governor. Maddle is an MPPOA Legal Defense Fund member, which is a knock against him because the MPPOA is pro-gun control. They give awards to swing district fake moderate Democrats like Judy Seeberger, and they endorse drunk driver Democrats like DWI Dan Wolgamott, and they do not represent the true interests of rank and file law enforcement in the legislature. Many would likely dismiss Mattel as a candidate once discovering that he has donated thousands of dollars to leftist candidates. Looking at the FEC contributions in 2023 and 2024, I think I've already got it on there. Just scroll to the bottom there, Jake, and we should see Chris Mattel's name on there. Are you seeing? Yeah, there we go. So within some of those spots there, you can see that he gave Angie Craig, Betty McCollum, Kamala Harris, and Amy Klobuchar at least $3,000. He gave Kamala Harris $6,600 when you combine her PAC and her actual campaign. This is the guy that Alpha News is kind of always propping up. He's writing these op-eds and editorials or whatever he's doing, and he's posing himself as some kind of conservative. I guess he had said previously that I was a Walz supporter, but now I've kind of had a change of heart. But how recent was his change of heart? Because he was donating to Kamala Harris against President Trump in the most recent presidential election. He was donating to Amy Klobuchar in the most recent election. And that's just for 2023, 2024. I'm going to have to do some more research to see all of the people that he was supporting and giving money to. The only Republican that is listed on there for his FEC contributions in 2023 and 2024 is Rhino Michelle Fishbach. So he's giving money to Betty McCollum, Kamala Harris, Angie Craig, Amy Klobuchar, and the one Republican where he seems to think that it's in line with his views is Michelle Fishbach. So that tells you everything you need to know about Fishbach as well. The fact that she would be in the same category for a donor like that. So this Chris Mattel, the fact that we're seeing all of that, he's even given $250 to Trump derangement syndrome patient Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin is obviously a partisan. It makes it seem as if this Mattel must have been a Democrat partisan. And even if he had a genuine change of heart, Mattel likely won't have the trust of the grassroots. And with his record of financially propping up Democrats, it's a big problem for him. And it's not just small dollar donations. These are thousands of dollars a piece. Like I said, that's just for that 2-year span. I'm sure that there is a lot more in there. And I heard that he donated to Walz previously I don't think for the governor campaign. I think for one of his congressional campaigns. But so this guy's been involved in the Democrats for quite a while and giving them thousands of dollars. I'm not sure why Alpha News seems to think he's the guy because it doesn't sound like it to me.
I've already possibly run for attorney general, which we don't have any candidates yet for, I think, if I remember right. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, that's very concerning to me. Obviously, there's a pattern. I mean, you vote like Kamala Harris for president. Like, wow. Like, good luck explaining that one to the delegation. So, yeah, it's interesting. All right, Jesse, your conclusion on this race so far, as it stands today. Today is more than a year. It's like 13 months out from the election. So let's preface it with that. We have time.
Yeah, you're saying how would I vote, or
no? I'm saying we had a conclusion here. I want you to go through the conclusion.
Okay, yeah. So obviously, A4L is going to keep Patriots updated and candidates for governor that are fake MAGA during the primary and then run to the center in the general election are destined for failure because people can see right through that. You lose the MAGA base when you do that because then they say, well, why am I showing up to vote if this person is just going to moderate and stand for nothing once they get in there? So the only way to win is by exciting the MAGA base and outperforming the Democrats by getting those 1.5 million Trump voters out to vote again. And if the GOP nominates some squishy rhino, we're going to see a repeat of 2022 with potentially some marginal gains just because of Walz's unpopularity having nothing to do with the fact of whoever the GOP nominee would be. So I think that this is going to be a highly competitive race. The Republicans need to be keeping up to date. I'm hoping Mike Lindell enters the race, and I'm not committed to any candidate. I just want to see the kind of dynamic he would throw in, and I'd be very interested to see how he would perform.
Well, there's no doubt we need a conservative mainstream candidate. That's, like we talk about Brad and Phil, they're just third-tier candidates, unfortunately. You guys can, by the way, if you guys are listening and you don't like that, prove us wrong, start raising some money, and then we'll talk, right? But in the end of the day, if you don't get your campaign launched, you don't have if you're not on a regular basis staring at a staff like, I don't know, half a dozen paid staffers and a bunch of volunteers, then you probably aren't going to mount enough of a campaign to beat Tim Walz, who comes in with a war chest, right? And it's not just the war chest that he has in his campaign. It's also the third parties that will come in and benefit Tim Walz. and his ability to probably raise nationally because the radical Democrats love him, right? They actually think Kamala is more of the problem. Kamala disagrees with that. So yeah, I think we need that better candidate for sure because this is so sad. There is a great opportunity. Jesse, we'll go into
Oh yeah, the rest of the country is looking at us like, what the heck is Minnesota's problem? Why can't you guys find someone good to run? That's what the rest of the country is looking at, saying like, you got Tampon Tim in there, and you got some unserious candidates, and the candidates that are serious are a bunch of rhinos. So I'm unimpressed with the current field of governor candidates right now. I want to see things shaken up, and I want to see someone that can actually defeat Tim Walz because I don't see it in the current field right now.
Right. I would like some kind of celebrity or athlete or something like that maybe offers a different presentation than in the past. That'd be kind of my hope. I don't know who that is. What does Joe Mauer think politically?
Yeah.
Tucker says
Brock
Jake,
Lesnar moved to Canada, so I think he's out of the picture too. He would have been a fun one.
Brock can't do it. Jake, get in the race. Laugh out loud. Tucker says, "Yeah, well, I don't think I'm a celebrity yet. I mean, we got a little audience here." Plus, it's not the time. Although I am a coach and a veteran. There you go. Go toe to toe with Tim Walz in that.
Yeah.
Now, I am a head coach.
Yeah.
But not high school boys, and I didn't abandon my troops in Iraq. So there you go. But no, it's crazy. All right, so I want to cover one other quick story, and then we'll go into the post show. If you guys want to be premium insiders, help keep the show independent, I just posted a link here, or you can go to truthhurtsnews.com, click on the top, or on Rumble, click join, or just click on the link I just posted in the comment section. This helps out tremendously. $8 a month or $88 a year helps us big time become a premium insider. Do it now. That way you can be ready for a post show, which follows the live portion of the show, the public portion. I just want to cover one story real quick. This is a very important story, so I don't feel like we're going to give it justice, but the all the media is reporting this. Minshore, I think, came out with the new rates. Minnesota health insurance premiums will rise sharply in 2026. Health insurance premiums for thousands of Minnesotans will increase in 2026 due to the rising health care costs and uncertainty around the future of Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, which are currently set to expire at the end of the year. That's a debate going on in Washington, so it might even be worse than what they're planning on, just FYI. The Minnesota Department of Commerce has released the final rates for individual and small group health insurance plans for 2026. The average premium increase on the individual market will go up 22%, while a small group market sees a 14% increase. This is the most significant rate hike since 2017. Now, remember when we were promised in Obamacare? Oh, it's important to understand, Obamacare is called the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, right? It has become far less affordable. This is what happens when government gets involved with anything. Prices skyrocket. All you guys that are small business owners, self-employed like myself, are going to be experiencing a massive increase in rates. Now, those of you that are W-2 employees working for an employer, you just don't understand the cost to you because your employer picks up your health insurance or a good portion of it. But that means less bonuses, less raises, because those healthcare costs are increasing as well. Those are just not necessarily market rates. They're done inside your employer, or not market rates, but they're, not usually publicly available because they're individual plans. But that's the same thing. Healthcare costs going up, right? Thanks to this massive inflation, which is because we have an unaffordable government. Both sides are to blame on that shit. And government is so heavily involved in the healthcare industry that it spikes up prices. And needless to say, now, on top of groceries and energy and everything else, and people can't buy homes these days, you're going to see a 22% increase to premiums, right? And when you're like me and your family is like relatively healthy, it's just like money that goes out of our pocket for a rainy day. Or not even a rainy day, like for the worst case scenario. Because like literally we barely, other than regular checkups, we're not like using healthcare, right? So it's just premiums that just go out. Don't get any service or response to it. Boy, isn't that a wonderful thing? I could go on a whole diatribe on how I think this is going to be the most important issue in politics in the next couple of years, because 100%, this is the deal, guys, 100% people are realizing how unaffordable it is to live in this country. When the average home first home purchase is 39 years old, or was it 38, whatever it is, it's like upper 30s. When I mean, just go to the grocery store, it's unaffordable. Like, this is going to be the lead issue. It's going to be held against Republicans, but Democrats aren't going to get a pass on it either. LK
Yeah.
to live, $8 subscribe. I assume that means they just subscribed as a new premium insider. Congratulations. I didn't realize that pops up on the screen. So thank you for, do I highlight this? I think I can highlight. There you go. LK to live. Thank you for being a new premium insider. If you guys want to join us, once again, the link is in there. Go to truthhurts.com if you want to sign up. If you're watching after the fact, I don't think it comes up in the comment section. Thank you to our great sponsor, Alpine Chemistry, in the city of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Also, EliteGuardianMN.com. If you need to sign up for your next concealed carry, go to EliteGuardianMN.com and take your own personal protection and the protection of your family in your hands. Our next course is on Tuesday, October 7th in the Northeast Metro, I should say, Hugo. It's at the Bald Eagle Sportsman Club. That's my club. Great club. Get out there. Know how to use your gun, by the way. Also qualifies you for your Minnesota permit to carry requirement. Jesse, you're going to stick around for the post show, right?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. We will be live on the post show in about 30 seconds. Everyone else, I'll see you next week. Bye.